Previously on Unglossy.
We built probably 10 or 11 different products. But the first one was what became Medium, the blogging platform.
Yeah.
And at the time, we kind of joked in that Ev had done Blogger, which was long form writing. Then he did Twitter, which was like short form writing. And it said, maybe there's something in the middle. And so we called it Medium, but also like the medium is the message.
Man, I knew that's where the name came from. That's cool.
It's just
That's dope. That's dope.
From the top.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Mickey Fax.
And I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
Welcome to Unglossy, decoding brand and culture. I'm Tom Frank, partner and chief creative officer at Merit Creative. This is Mickey Fax, hip-hop artist and founder and CEO of Pendulum Inc. And that is Jeffrey Sledge, a seasoned music industry veteran who has worked with some of the biggest artists in the business. We're here to explore the moments of vulnerability, pivotal decisions, and creative sparks that fuel the relationship between brand and culture. Get ready for thought-provoking journey into the heart and soul of branding, the unscripted, unfiltered, and truly unglossy truth. Unglossy is brought to you by Merit Creative. Looking to skyrocket your business's visibility and drive growth? At Merit Creative, we solve your brand and marketing woes. With big ideas, decades of experience, and innovative solutions, we'll draw in your target audience and keep them hooked. Remember, creativity is key to success. Partner with Merit Creative and unlock your brand's potential. Learn more at meritcreative.com. And now, part 2 of our conversation with Sturman. We pick up on his decision to leave Medium.
So let's see, I'm just going to go through my story here. So I was at Medium for about 5 years proper, ran a bunch of different teams, was an executive there for basically the whole time. And I got to a point where I realized I'd spent almost a decade of my life helping Ev facilitate the exchange of stories and ideas in the world. And as proud as I am of what Twitter and Medium became, like that was really Ev's mission. That was his vision. And like I said, like I'm generally not a good employee because I like to pursue my own shit. I like to pursue.
That's what you said at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So.
And at the time, a few things were really popping for me. So one, I had really gotten into meditation, and working in Silicon Valley, high stress, high pressure. I really learned to kind of like take a breath, slow down, tune into what's happening internally with me, learn to meditate. And I got some calm, some peace, some happiness. I was performing better. And
were you always a meditation guy, or is it something that, no?
Never. In fact, because at Medium, Ev started to get a little into meditation. So we brought in this this guy, Will Kabat-Zinn and John Kabat-Zinn. They're like celebrities in the mindfulness space. I didn't know that at the time, but they came in, they would come into office twice a week and lead us in like little 30-minute meditations. And I remember the first couple of times I was like, I'm gonna go because I don't want to embarrass this guy that we're paying to be here, but like, this ain't for me. And I grew up in Texas, like, evangelical Bible Belt, like, and at this point, religion was really kind of a put off for me. And to my discredit, I thought about meditation as like an Eastern religion thing. And I had just moved to California. I was going to be open-minded, experienced it all. But I realized after a couple of sessions, like, man, I'd leave these little meditations just really feeling good. And I started to, really lean into it a little bit. And I'm all in or all out on most things. So I just went all in on meditation. I'm going to like retreats. I'm going to like silent weeks and different things. And, and then
you got all in.
I was all in. And my family started, I started teaching my wife and my kids, and they started learning and seeing more grounded. Our family was happier. And so I knew meditation was mindfulness, and I knew mindfulness was going to be a thing. And so I was like, I'm really excited about that. I knew I wanted to do another tech startup because that's just what I do.
That's what you do.
That's what I know. And that's the networks that I built. And I'm a huge sports junkie. I'm an NBA hoops head through and through, rocking my Houston Rockets right now. You can see I got a cabinet NBA jams running right here. I got the Papa Shot in the back. Like I'm a hardcore Houston Rockets fan. Like,
were you at Texas when Kevin Durant was there? That's the first thing that popped in my head. Or was he after you?
He was a little after me. I
guess he would be a little after.
Yeah, I was there. Vince Williams was a quarterback. I got to see Ricky Williams break the rushing record while I was there in the late 90s. So a little bit earlier there than him. But
before you continue, I want to ask these two guys: meditation. Are you guys into meditation at all?
I'm like, I'm gonna kind of say yes and no. Like I have a tendency to like do some shit and then move to the next shit. So while I've been in that space but then I'll just go to the next. I'll be, cool, I did that. I'm gonna go to the next thing. But I mean, when I was in that space, it definitely helps. And I've been thinking lately about to try to get back into that space in the daily affirmations and all that. Like it makes you feel. It does make you feel good and open. Pause when to start your day like that. And I haven't done that in a while, and I'm feeling kind of cloudy lately. So I'm gonna try to get back into it because it worked. It works for me, I should say. I don't know for everybody, but when I was doing it, it works for me.
For me, it's not really like a meditation thing. More like I need to get back into the prayer thing. And I think there's like this congruent space between meditation, prayer, yoga, and just kind of sitting in silence and absorbing the atmosphere and environment. Now that, my son is getting on the bus in the mornings, he's getting up at 5:30 a.m. with me. So from 5:30 to like 6:30 is basically getting them ready, and then I just go straight to the gym. And then typically I would probably go and pray, but I've just kind of, I got my studio set up, and now
You get busy in life.
yeah. So
That's where I'm at. I wish I did more of it, but I feel like I'm constantly on the run. And I think you're right. I think the cloudiness or just the anxiety sometimes. I don't know. Maybe you need to help us get all into this again.
Well, look,
Yeah,
I'll be honest. Like my own, daily meditation practice isn't on point right now. I'm not sitting every day and meditating, but now I'll say, like when I started my next company, it became a mindfulness company for athletes. I'll tell you about it here in a second, but this was right when there was actually, studies and real science happening around the benefits of mindfulness. It is now well documented. You can't argue against the benefit of it. Like the medical field knows it, the science field knows it. It was hard, even 5 or 10 years ago to explain it, because if you eat better, you lose weight. If you run on the track, you'll get better cardio. If you lift weights, you'll get stronger. But like now this guru is telling you, like, do nothing for 30 minutes and that should make you better, but it's like hard to quantify. Like it was a little bit like selling snake oil back then. But I was at one of these, I was actually speaking at this mindfulness conference in San Francisco. And one of the other speakers was this guy named George Mumford. And George Mumford has a book out there. He was Phil Jackson's guru. So, Phil Jackson's often thought of like kind of the Zen Buddhist Zen master. Well, this guy taught Phil Jackson what he knew. And so George Mumford was roommates with Dr. J. They both were going to try to go to play ball, but George blew out his knee, ended up in prison, came out, was really on this like Zen Buddhism kick, and really realized in prison he was helping prisoners get right inside their head. And he really kind of realized like that was something really special with that. So he ended up working with some basketball players, hooked up with Phil Jackson. And this guy was the mental skills coach for Jordan, Kobe, Shaq. I mean, he followed Phil up from Chicago to LA, even to New York in his last stop. And so this guy was speaking at this conference about how he was using mindfulness to help these guys perform. And back in the 90s, no one was talking about meditation. No one was even talking about yoga. Like this was definitely some Eastern art, mystical shit. But he knew he was onto something. And I'll tell you what, Jordan knew he was onto something. Kobe knew he was onto something. At that level, the real true performers will find little differentiator to elevate themselves. And for Jordan and Kobe, it was practicing their mental game. They were meditating, they were visualizing, they were proactively working on building their confidence, while their peers were just working on their handles or working on their jump shot or working in the weight room. And so that was kind of their secret sauce. And so the irony there is they didn't talk about it because they didn't want their competitors to have it. Well, fast forward 20 something years later, George is in his 70s. He's retired. He's now worked with all my NBA heroes, and once his story became public and once Jordan and Kobe got out the league, they would talk about this guy. I mean, Jordan said George Mumford saved his life, and said that he wouldn't do anything without him. So this guy had incredible cred. He's getting older. And when I met him at this conference, he seemed a little sad that what he knew wasn't bigger. Like more people didn't know about it. And he said back then he was holding on to it because it was a competitive advantage he was selling. But now he just wanted the world to know you can work on what's between your ears, like you work on your body and your skills and everything else that can really help you. And that had this moment of realization, like, shit, that's what technology is great at. Technology is great at scaling things globally really fast. And so I said, your wisdom, my tech chops, like I think we could bring this to people. And so started a company called Lucid. We built some curriculum on a phone. It was like kind of like a Headspace or Calm type app, but it was really geared at mindfulness for performance. Because while this was happening, Headspace was starting to get a little traction. Calm was starting to get traction. But it was really about like, take a break from your day, take a breath, calm down, de-stress. And I'm like, that's all great. But on an NBA court or in a Silicon Valley boardroom, you need to perform. When you're on a mic, you need to perform. And so there was something really magical to me about like utilizing these same skill sets to be better at something. And so I raised money on this idea to like use mindfulness to help athletes get better, musicians perform better, board members, be more focused and confident in the boardroom. And so created a whole company around it and raised some money, started working with his connections and some of the other mental skills coaches that we brought in. Started rocking with some young kids. Our idea was like, let's figure out who's kind of next up coming into the league, because the older guys are already getting inundated with sponsorship deals and they're, hard to get a hold of. And George Mumford's, the Kobe's and Jordans were already out the league. And so I had brought in this one mental skills coach who had worked with Aaron Gordon since he was 12 years old. Worked with Jaylen Brown when he was in junior high. He was working with Ben Simmons in Australia. He worked with Karl Anthony Towns before he came to the league. So this guy was already on it and he was teaching these guys. And he said he had a crew of about 4 or 5 guys that he just knew back in 2017 or 18, like these guys are going to be something. Now, like fast forward, Jaylen Brown, finals MVP. Aaron Gordon found his home in Denver and then won a championship. Cat's a dominant.
And got robbed in a dunk contest.
Yo, I was there that night.
Oh, you were there?
I was there.
I couldn't believe. I was like, dude, he's doing shit I've never seen done. This dude is catching the shit off the fanatic. He threw it under his legs. I'm like, how is this? How are these not 20s, let alone 10s? I'm still mad about that. And that's why he don't do the dunk contest anymore. He's like, you're going to rob me again. I mean, piece of Zach LaVine, but Aaron got robbed twice.
Look, taking nothing away from LaVine. LaVine's an incredible leaper, but I was in the hotel room with AG before the dunk contest. We were meditating. We were getting our head right, rolled to the arena with him, sitting in the stands. I watched just like everyone else did. And I'll tell you that one iconic dunk, like under both of his legs over there. When it happened so quick. People were like, what just happened? And then when they showed the replay on the Jumbotron, people went ape shit. I mean, that was like, I remember Vince Carter, Jordan, Spud Webb. I remember some like iconic dunkers back in the day, but that show that AG and LaVine put on, I mean, we haven't seen anything like it since.
No, we haven't.
50,
and we won't.
And I'll tell you,
don't give up on it, Mickey.
I still rock with AG. I just saw him a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, at his brother's reception for his funeral, his brother passed away. I had a driving accident recently, but I was there. I'll tell you, anytime I hang out with AG, people are still coming up to him, being like, "You were robbed, man. You were robbed."
Just like this guy,
like that. Yep.
He absolutely was.
Wow. So what then ultimately happened with Lucid?
Yeah. So Lucid, man, it was an unbelievable. Ran Lucid for about 3 years, raised a couple rounds of money, got to hire some of my best friends, got to work with AGs and dinners with Jaylen Browns. And like, for me, that's like, as someone who grew up as a hoop head, like I was like living my dream. But I'll tell you, I was maybe a little too overconfident, a little overambitious. I thought after Twitter and Medium, you just build something cool and you got like millions of users. Well, Lucid was inherently a different type of business. It was a different type of company. Really, it was a content production business. And we were we had to build out a little studio and we were building these meditations. We were making mindfulness music. We had to crank it out all the time and keep the app updated. I thought it was a technology company. It was really a content company. And selling that content was a lot harder than I imagined. I experienced the benefits of mindfulness in my own life. And after seeing Jordan and Kobe and these guys doing the same thing, I thought it was going to be an easy sell. But what I found out was, like I said earlier, these athletes already know they got to eat right. They got to sleep right. They got to get in the gym. They got to get on the track. They got to work on their skills. They got to do media classes. They got all these things. They already can't do all that in a day. And now we're telling them, now you got to sit for 30 minutes and close your eyes and breathe. By the way, it's like hard to quantify the results of that. All the others are really easily quantifiable. So it was a really hard sell. But what I learned was, the potential market for that content wasn't as big as I thought, because really at each level, at the youth level, there's a slim tier of athletes who are really going to go play in high school. At high school, even a slimmer tier of athletes are going to go play in college. At college, a very thin tier of athletes are going to go pro. And those thin tiers are really the communities that are willing to try the things that no one else is. They want that competitive advantage. They're willing to pay. Those are the ones, paying for dietitians and paying for private coaches and all these sort of things. And so it was a hard nut to crack from a business perspective. I think toward the end, we really got some traction. We started rocking with Brandon Marshall, the inside the NFL, probably a Hall of Famer receiver at some point. And he really had a heart for inner city.
I don't know about that,
Sturman. I think he's right on that fine line.
I mean, he's still got some records. He's still got the most receptions in the Super Bowl ever. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway,
Brandon's a homie, but he really threw us into, there's a lot of, inner city sports that, have little budgets, and we can start to teach this to kids even younger than we thought, because we kind of went the pro level to really validate and legitimize the company. But we ended up selling the product to, some colleges would buy, some high schools would buy, but they'd buy, even if we had every single collegiate athlete in the U.S. on the program, that's 45,000 people. From a tech perspective, that's not much.
Not a lot.
A lot more than that. There's less than 5,000 professional athletes in the U.S. And so we ended up selling to soccer camps and schools, and we were always successful because we could bring these guys in like George Mumford, and they inspire people. It was easy to sell, but it was also kind of a boots on the ground sales business. It wasn't a tech business that could scale overnight like I was used to. And so long story short, I was really kind of burnt out creating content every day, really trying to just make ends meet for the company. And so in 2018, we just decided let's just disband the company, but let's just let the app run. At that point we had thousands of people that were paying monthly subscribers. And so that thing was making money, and just until I think last year, basically, but we stopped working on it. My VP of design ended up going to Facebook, and got there about a month later. It was like, Sturman, you got to come check out Facebook. And I was like, well, hold on. I'm a startup guy. I'm not
that's going back to the evil empire right there.
Totally. And I saw, after Twitter got to a certain size, it was like, politics and bureaucracy start to creep in by nature of the size of the organization. So, but I did I went to talk to Facebook, and they kind of sold me to jump in and help them with kind of their 0 to 1 innovation muscle internally. They had caught wind that the FTC was going to come down and impose some mandates on them. It was going to be harder and harder for Facebook to acquire companies. Now, Facebook acquired Instagram at the right time, acquired Oculus at the right time, acquired WhatsApp, the biggest communication platform in the world, at the right time. And so the acquisition muscle at Facebook was crazy, but it's going to be harder and harder to do that. And so the in-house innovation muscle was a little bit weaker. And so I came in to kind of work on some different models to really attract entrepreneurial people to challenge, how big companies can work and scale and bring some new ideas to the table. And real talk, I thought I'd be at Facebook for a year. I thought I'd get paid for a year, learn about big companies and bounce and start something else. Well, I just crossed 6.5 years at the company, still working on interesting stuff. It's a crazy place. I don't know, 70,000 employees. It's wild, but I'm learning a bunch. I'm getting to work with really creative, smart people.
Do you work right there at the Facebook offices? Do you go in or no?
Not anymore. No,
not anymore.
For pre-COVID, yes, I was driving 90 minutes one way to go to the office every day, and I loved it. The energy.
You loved the 90 minutes.
Well, I love being at the office. I love working.
He did meditation for those 90 minutes, so he's good.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was a lot of time to be in a car, but as an introvert, between the craziness at work and the craziness at home, that was my 90 minutes where I was listening to my music, my podcast.
Be said about that.
And so I kind of miss it a little bit, but
I want to go back to one thing you said, which I thought was really interesting. I want to put an exclamation mark on that, is that you created something with Lucid that was content creation.
Yeah.
Whereas where you had success with Twitter and then Facebook, and we're going to get into the Bars app, was really creating a platform for others to create all the content, which seems like your key to success and where you wanted to be.
100%. And I think the truth of the matter is I realized that pretty late in the Lucid game, and I was just so excited about what we were doing. And every week we were getting a new pro athlete or a team that wanted to work with us. And it was kind of just blinded me to really step back and think about how does this business actually going to work? Because the truth of the matter is the thing that really gets me going and inspires me is empowering other people to share what's special about them with the world. And we did that at Twitter. We did that at Medium. We definitely did that at bars. And I think that's the thing I'm good at. And for better or worse, that's what I like to do. And so late in the game at Lucid, we thought like, could this be a platform for, maybe the up and coming mindfulness coaches, the executive coaches, that was kind of like an industry that was starting to bubble up a little bit. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, we did something really special with these athletes. We planted a lot of seeds. We'll see how they'll bloom later. But truth of the matter is, after 3 years, I was just burnt trying to run a business that wasn't taking off like I thought. And so I decided to hang it up.
Yeah. Wow.
I respect it.
Now here, I thought we were going to talk about music the whole time, and we haven't even got to music, but I guess now I'm starting to realize where the Bars app came from. It's all like you're connecting the dots here as we go.
Here, I'll connect them literally. I'll try to do it quick. I know I'm being long-winded here, but music has always been a big part of my life. My parents put me on piano lessons when I was little. I started playing guitar when I was little. It's been my main instrument. I've always liked singer-songwriters. I always liked music as a way to move people and tell stories. And so I was probably in 6th grade when my friend gave me a bootleg cassette tape of Eazy-E. And I was just like, I never heard.
First album, the only album, Easy Does It. The Easy Does It. And I heard it, and I was like, my parents would not approve of this, and I'm fucking rocking with this, man. It just the beats, the message, and I didn't realize this at the time, but the thing that really fascinated me was like he was rapping about shit that was happening in Compton. It was such a different life. I grew up basically on a golf course in a suburb of Houston, so like this was not, I was not getting shot at. I was not having these experiences that Easy was in LA, but it just was like, I could imagine, I could see it, I could hear it. And it was like, his way to communicate what was happening in his life through clever punchlines and bars and dope beats. Like I just was really fascinated by it. So after that, I was like buying, blank tapes, I had my little boom box with the record button, and I was jamming 97.9 The Box. Shout out 97.9 The Box in Houston. Like I think they're still going. I'd be listening for Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter in the morning, yes sir. And I'd be recording my little mixtapes but my whole life I always played music. In college I was playing guitar with some little acoustic singer-songwriter bands, and hip hop was always kind of my passion, my hobby. I didn't know if I could ever actually make anything. It's somewhat recently, really since COVID, that I thought like, dude, I can fuck around with a drum machine and MPC. Like this ain't rocket science. I can learn some of this. So I started to learn to produce a little bit. But after about 2 years at Facebook, we had created a program called NPE, New Product Experimentation. And I was in charge of running design and products for it for a while. And so we were bringing in entrepreneurs from outside of Facebook to like come inside because we had money, we had engineers, we had designers. We could help them kind of pursue kind of specific niche product ideas for certain communities, realizing that like nothing scales global overnight. Like usually you find a pocket of people that really love your shit so much they can't stop talking about it. And so, could we find those pockets of people and really grow something organically from the inside of a company like Facebook? And so once we started rocking with that, I was thinking about like what kind of communities could we support here? And music for me, I was like, I have the opportunity to work on music and tech, like 100%, I'm definitely doing that. And at the time, there was just a lot of criticism from really the Black community around decisions Facebook had made. And there was some ill will and some lost trust in those communities. And I thought, and also just a few years prior to this, hip hop had surpassed rock as the most popular genre, I think, in the world or in the US or something. So like started like connecting some trends together. And I was like, you know what? Hip hop has always been really powerful for me. Music moves minds. Facebook has the scale to really put this in the world in a way and build a platform for, who are the up and comers that have something to say and they don't know how to get it to the world. And so we dorked around with a couple of different ideas, and the Bars app was the end result, like giving a platform for dope lyricists and eventually producers to like put their stuff on a product that they could get more ears, get more eyes, and hopefully move minds and change culture and all the things that hip hop has done for me. I thought, could we scale it through this product? It was hard because Facebook at the time was not a trusted brand. Facebook had been in the news, all the time for like bad decisions or data breaches or privacy invasions or whatever it was. And so
Yeah.
actually talking to a community that, already kind of felt burned by this company. And so, I realized from the get-go, this was a high risk, high reward situation because, one, I'm trying to serve a community that in many ways I'm not a part of. I mean, you can see me, and though I love hip hop, I don't know, it's hard for me to relate to what inner city Black kids are dealing with, that they're loving this music. And so, and Facebook was already under so much scrutiny, like, how would they look at this product being founded by a white dude who likes hip hop coming out of Facebook? Like there would this could be corny was written all over it, but
Yeah.
I thought, look, I'm okay embarrassing myself. I'm okay failing. I'll learn a lot. I really think there's something special here. And so, there is a lot of infrastructure inside of Facebook now, Meta. We have like the Inclusive Product Council. We have the Black Act community. Like there was a lot of checks and balances and people that could kind of check me for my own, biases, both known and unknown. And I'll tell you, some early versions of the product, we just used some language, like even in the app that was like, the product council was like, you can't say that, like that you're using like lingo and slang that like, if we use it, it's cool, but when you use it, it's going to be interpreted a little bit differently. And they acknowledged like I didn't have any bad intentions, but like, I was serving a community I wasn't really part of, which is usually a disaster, a recipe for disaster. But I also did really, really believe in the power of this community. And I think that people internally saw that. And so let me run with this thing. And, we ran it for a good couple years. Working with Mickey was one of the highlights of the whole deal. But we also rocked with Jadakiss and Rhapsody and Toby and Weekway. Shout out H-Town rapper coming up. Like there were some people that got on that app that kind of legitimized it. Mickey was a huge help, and just like once he kind of signed on and we did the Bars App Mickey Fact Challenge with him, I think a lot of people in the industry that follow Mickey and a lot of the hip hop diehards are like, okay, like we heard about this thing, but like we kind of thought it was cheesy or corny. But like once they opened it, they realized like there were some real spitters on there. There were some real kids that like had an art form and had something to say, and now had an audience to say it to. And so ran it. Probably the most fun I've ever had in my career, getting to like make beats for rappers and like build a product to make hip hop, more impactful was amazing. But the truth of the matter is at the end of the day, for a product to matter at meta scale, it's hundreds of millions of people at least. Yeah. I don't know if there's 100 million wannabe rappers in the world, and that said, like we definitely could have branched out to other genres. We could have brought some, the producer community in. Like I think there's still ways that product could have scaled and continue to make a difference. But beginning of last year, Meta went through a tough round of layoffs and really had to ruthlessly focus on, what was going to be effective and efficient for the company to invest in to move the business. And unfortunately, that whole new product experimentation, Bars was one of 60 apps that we launched out of that group, and the whole org just got wound down. And
so nothing survived from that.
No products did, but I'll tell you, one of the hidden agendas of starting that team at Meta, we were 100 strong when we closed it. But one of the hidden agendas was when you work for a big company like Meta, like Facebook, like Twitter, like Google, like Apple, there's so much process, bureaucracy, red tape. It's really hard to get stuff done. And I came from a startup background where like, it's just me and a couple homies in my garage, like making shit happen every day. And so, I was convinced that there was better ways to get work done. So what we did in that org, I think really helped inform the larger company of like different ways to build products and serve communities. And I'll tell you, I still get thanks and appreciation and kudos inside of the company for stepping into a high risk, high reward situation, serving a community I wasn't really a part of, and building some real good will and trust and content and a product. And so I think that spirit is still very much alive in the company. Unfortunately, the product is not, but that's okay. Like some things just have like a natural life cycle. And like, I still get, and Mickey's probably not surprised, but I still get people all the time. Like some of these guys are in that community, like, yo, we got to get the bars app going. How can we start this? And like, as a passion project, I think it was really impactful. I think if it was a startup I was running, I think I could have really continued to invest in it and pivot and try different things, bring in new investors, bring in new talent. But when this decision came down to axe the org, so did we axe the product. And nothing but gratitude and a full heart looking back. And it introduced me to you guys and to Mickey. And I dropped an album last week, mostly featuring guys from the bars community, and so like that is an absolute dream come true for me. I never thought I'd get to, release music that people are rapping on. And so for me, it was an unbelievable, huge win. I'm really, really proud of what we did in that product. And sad is gone, but everything's got its life cycle.
Well, let's tell the world about that album. It's Beats for Friends.
Beats for Friends.
Hey, I listened to it today.
Hey, what'd you think?
I liked it. Okay, I'll give you my favorite track.
Okay.
And it's funny that this whole conversation, because this is what I was thinking about back when I was listening to this, was Go Far. And for some reason, I put it on in the car, and it was like the most calming beat. And I felt like I was in meditation all the way home today.
Well, I love it. I'll tell you.
Full circle, Mickey. Full circle.
I didn't get a phone call for that album, man. I don't know, man. When I heard it, he sent me the link, I was like, oh, you put out an instrumental album. Because me, I'm like, it's a lot of records on there, Jeff. I'm like, okay. I start listening. I'm hearing people.
I didn't know about it at all. I got to get to it.
You got to get to it.
I start hearing people's voices. I'm like, wait, I ain't get a call?
You ain't get to no bars. No bars. It's crazy.
Look, ain't no shortcuts in this game. I got to start from the bottom and work my way up to the Mickey Facts and the Jeff Sledges in the game. Like I got to earn that feature, homie. I got to earn that feature.
No bars is wild.
You cleaned that up good.
Man, it was, it was really, during COVID, I really started to think about, like, I got all this time on my hands. I'm at home. I really started, fucking around with some production, learning how to use the software, started buying little drum machines and groove boxes and really just started making beats I liked. And, I still listen to a wide variety of music. And for me, something about singer-songwriter music, hip hop, even some like ambient stuff, like anything that moves me. I don't know why, but it does. And so when I started this project late last year. I was looking, my grandfather, shout out Herman Sturman, believe it or not, that's Herman Sturman. Yeah, rest in peace. But he was a pianist, and he made gypsy music, which was a thing like came from Lithuania. He grew up in New York. But he was a gypsy music pianist, and I still have some of his little 45 vinyls, and it sounds like what you think it sounds like. It's like piano music, sound like you hear it at gypsy camp or something. Well, I still have that, and it's so meaningful to me. I have the vinyls, and I have his sheet music. And I thought, like, I've been a musician my whole life. I did play guitar on some albums like back in the day, whatever. But like, I don't really have anything out in the world that my kids could point to and be like, that's my grandfather, it was my dad, whatever. And so I thought I finally got to the point in my life, I'm 46 now, about to be 47. I think once I got into my 40s, maybe it just comes by nature getting older. Maybe it was just time for me, but I really stopped giving a fuck what people thought about me, and like, it's one of the biggest blessings of getting older. And I thought, like, I always had this creative pursuits, and I had some validation that like my technology creative pursuits were validated because I was getting jobs, I was getting paid, I was getting, noticed, but my music was just kind of for me. And I think I just had this fear of like putting it out there, I'd get clowned, no one would like it, no one would care. But just a couple years ago, I was like, I don't really care anymore. I'm going to make music that I like. I'm going to make music that moves me. My kids will be able to point to a Spotify link, not going to be a vinyl anymore. Although I should get it pressed to vinyl now.
You should totally
get it pressed to vinyl.
Yes.
But it'll be just a moment in time, a snapshot of what I was into and the people I was rocking with that I could like kind of leave behind. And so I thought, like, I know seeing these guys from the bars community following up and coming artists, like, it's a grind. I mean, to get your stuff heard and to blow it up, like it's a whole thing. And I'm not into that. Like I've got a career I'm happy with. I got lots of hobbies. Music for me is a passion project. I put it out there really as just kind of a moment in time to show and share the kind of music that moved me. And I got to rock with some of my homies I met through bars and got to feature them and pay them, which, was really amazing to support their, dope art from dope people. And so all those songs move me in some way. Even like when I was just, scouting samples or like kind of bass stuff off or playing my guitar or playing the keys, like if something, a little chord progression or a melody, like just made me feel something, I was like, that's it. And so if you listen to it now, like I got some rappers on there, but like Go Far it's not a hip hop track. It's like
not at all. Yeah.
It's got actually got some like praise and worship, like there's like a little Christian thing on there. It's got a weird sample.
I needed something to calm me down, to get me in the right place. And that it did it for me.
Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, if one other person liked it, that's icing on the cake. And since I put it out just last week, I've just been, I'm not trying to run up my listeners, not trying to sell any merch or anything, but like just getting hit up from friends and family and people just saying like they rocked it, they felt me, that moved them, they heard something. Like it has just been an absolute pleasure. And so I'm already starting to gear up for like, man, I got to do this again. And back to the Rick Rubin vibes, Rick Rubin talks about like the real work is making art and sharing art and going back to making art. And, you never know what's going to pop off and what's not. And so like kind of just got out of my head and said, you know what, fuck it. I don't care what people think. I'm going to make music I like and put it out there. And if it resonates with people, cool, I'll rock with them. If it doesn't, cool too. Like we all like different stuff. Art is subjective, And so, but there is something for me that was a big hurdle of like putting my music out there publicly, just felt like a big win for my own insecurities and my own confidence. And so I'm still kind of riding that high that I shared something that, that my friends and family and kids like.
Last question before we close this thing out, man.
Hit me.
Here we go. Why you didn't give me the bars at, man? Why you just didn't give it to me?
We talked a lot about this.
Just hand it over. You should have just handed it over to me, man.
Yeah.
Slipped out the back door.
Mick, there's nothing would have made me happier to do that. And I kid you not, I went to bat hardcore internally for that. Unfortunately, intellectual property laws and Meta and Facebook all got in the way. And I probably shouldn't get into it, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I'll tell you, like,
you tried.
I tried, but not being able to give that community what they were asking for when we had what they were asking for, that was a real hard moment for me. I still feel sad about it, but I also feel like people will continue to find ways for their art to be heard, and maybe there'll be another similar thing come up. Maybe I'll fuck around with the engineers at some point and spin some up on weekend. I don't know, everything's on the table, but man, I wish you could have had it, Mick. I tried to make that happen, but
I know. I mean, the gesture in itself was unbelievable, and I'm appreciative of that, because that community, the times that I did pop in and get a chance to see everybody working. I'm not sure if the other ambassadors came in and kind of saw, but I was in there, and I got a chance to vibe with a lot of people, and a lot of them transitioned over to Pendulum, and, we created that community for them, and we've had retreats where they got a chance to meet in person. And I think that is the kind of thing that a lot of people yearned for. They needed that space, and we provided it for them. We would have done it, we would have kept that space going and waved that flag, but obviously, the bureaucracies and legal jargon kept the culture from progressing.
Mickey, this is a guy you need to get at the next graduation.
Who, Sturman?
Yeah.
I've invited Sturman to both graduations.
We need to get you out there.
He has.
It'll blow you away what Mickey's doing, because it is kind of in some ways connected to what you were doing, and it's very impressive what he's done.
Well, I know that, and I've seen the pictures from the graduation. It warmed my heart so much, and I know a lot of those guys in the bars community end up in Pendulum Inc. They talk about bars and Pendulum Inc. really changing their lives, and not just because more of their art is being heard, but it was real therapy and healing for some of those guys going through some real rough times, and be able to connect with other people with similar struggles, sharing their art in similar ways. Like, I'm really proud of what we did, and I couldn't be more stoked about, Mickey is holding that torch, and Pendulum Inc. is moving forward with this. So super stoked. But before we got on this call, Jeffrey, with a little teaser about like something we had in common and know about. Now I'm curious.
Well, now we've done this interview. I was actually shadowing you in your life, talking it, because you're from Houston area.
Yes, sir.
And A&R'd all the UGK projects.
No shit, really?
No shit. And then you went to the Bay, and I A&R'd E40 and Too Short.
Woo! Come on,
Legend.
man.
And then I heard your favorite group of all time, Tribe Called Quest.
Yes, sir.
I A&R'd. I started with Midnight Marauders. I did promotion on the ward on Low End Theory, but I started with switched to A&R and I did Midnight Marauders on, except the last album because I was on Epic.
Wow. I did not know that, Jeff. Here I'm talking with Mick and Tom. Like, I want to talk to you, man.
They were babbling. They were
right here. Yeah.
They were babbling. I was letting them babble.
That was Tom.
I'm the babbling guy. I admit it.
Yeah.
And then Jeff signed me. So like you gotta
and I signed Mickey too.
So like this whole synergy is there. And
exactly.
And last but not least, Q-Tip will be at the graduation in New York City for.
Oh, he's coming?
Yeah, we locked him in.
Big announcement.
I locked him in April last year.
Wow.
I mean,
It's hard to get Tip to come out nowadays. You know,
Yo,
that's a big thing.
I'm coming out, Mick.
You just reeled him in.
If you'll have me, I'm coming out, Mick, for sure.
Of course, we
have some fun.
Well, Jeff, we got a lot to talk about, man.
Fun.
I always feel I feel like H-Town doesn't, it never shows up as a list of like influential hip hop cities. But you look at UGK, you look at Ghetto Boys, you look at DJ Screw. I mean, you got
Mike Jones,
Thug. You got people at UGK that came out of there that really had a pretty big impact on the path that hip hop went. And so I'm always repping H-Town and they're still producing artists there I'm excited about. But Jeff, man, I'd love to grab a meal with you sometime and talk, man.
Absolutely.
You work with all my idols.
Yeah. Get into it, tell you some tribe stories.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
All right.
Who knew? All right. Sturman, you got to tell everybody, where can they find your music?
I am at Sturman everywhere. STIRAM. Sturman. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify. Look me up. Jam my music. If you like it, send me a note, man. I really appreciate anyone rocking with me. If you don't, that's cool too. Also, quick shout out to my daughter. I started making music. My daughter's name is Greenlee, Greenley. She put out her first single a couple of months ago.
How old is she?
She is 18. I just dropped her off at CU Boulder last week, freshman there, and so she is starting a whole new chapter of life. But she's been DJing, creating some house music, which she's teaching me a little bit about house music now. But she got way more listeners than I do on Spotify. And so I'm like, my music probably ain't gonna be my retirement ticket, but her music might. So I'm gonna blow her up off every chance I get.
House music is I don't want to say coming back because it never left. It just kind of went back underground. But it's starting to pop its head up in different places. It's gonna have another run. It's gonna have another run very, very, very soon.
Well, she's out.
People want to. My theory is whenever tragic things happen in this country, so like in the 20s, right, with prohibition and all that shit, and people were, and the crash of World 29 and all that, out of that came ragtime. People wanted to dance, right? Then in the 40s, World War II, crazy, people dying, blah, blah, blah. Out of that came rock and roll.
Yep.
Early rock and roll.
Yep.
Bo Diddley and that type of shit. Then in the 60s, Vietnam War, strife. Out of that came that second iteration of rock and roll, right? People wanted to kind of be free and party and have a good time. Then in the 70s, gas crash, gas prices going crazy, and Out of that came disco. Ooh. So whenever there's really dark times, and now I'm talking about what we just talked about, which is COVID. And that type of thing, and Trump and all that type of stuff. Out of that is coming tempo again. People want to feel good, So that's why your daughter's on to something, because that tempo and that feeling and that vibe, that's coming back like the slow. It's not happening. So that's my theory. I just gave away my theory.
I like that theory.
When tempo started to kick in. I mean, it's not even theory. It's the truth. It's what happens over time. So.
Woo, we've gotten into a lot tonight. This has been fun. This has been fun. Thank you, sir. I'm so glad we got to reconnect. I'm thrilled when I just DM somebody and they actually get back to me. I owe that to Mickey and Jeffrey. So it's been great. Thank you. I've learned a ton just sitting here and listening to you for the past hour. I appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me ramble, Jeff.
That was dope. It was
Yeah,
dope, man.
this
It was
is
dope.
really, man. I
It was
just feel
dope.
honored to be connected to you guys, and like I'll be following y'all's story. Always following the podcast. You know, we didn't even talk about
Appreciate
AI.
it.
I had this pause, like I want to hear what these guys think about AI created art. That's a whole nother. Maybe we'll cue that up for another visit. Maybe
We'll get you back. Don't you
down
worry.
the road. But I'd love to hear
Yeah.
y'all's take on that. But man,
Yeah,
really,
I'll be
really
rapping.
great
I'll be
to-
rapping against AI on Friday.
I'll be watching.
A word?
Watching.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck,
At
homie.
Tabernacle in Atlanta. I'm hosting the whole event, and then Rick Ross is going to be performing after. So
Amazing.
little something.
Little something. All right, folks. That's our show. Tune in to Unglossy, Decoding Brand and Culture on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And follow us on Instagram at UngLossyPod to join the conversation. Until next time, I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
Smicky! That was good.